to start the court tab. This is them going to the finals.
Low there, actually he's going to get hooked into it. There's the slow as well. He goes down. That is an open nexus now for them to finish off. And it's going to be an Classico final here in the spring split.
But look, it's a double kill for Genja. Unlimited gets pounced on. Diamond gets himself a kill in towards. It's a triple kill. He's going to go towards it. Forgiven goes down into Quadra. Can they get the Penta on Youngbook? One more shot. It's a pentakill for Genja.
Winning the split would be really huge for us.
It's going to be quite tense for me since they're my old team.
We already won 2 splits and now we're going for the 3rd one.
I hope it will go 5 games and then the better team's going to take it.
Kind of one spot at Spencer. He'd go low there. That's it. He's going to get hooked. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the final day of the European League Championship Series Spring Playoffs. We're coming to you live from our studio in Cologne, Germany. I'm Joe Miller, alongside Lee Demon Smith, and today we crown one team the King of Spring and send them to represent Europe in the upcoming All-Star Invitational in Paris, France.
And it is a classic battle for the title featuring longtime rivals SK Gaming and Fnatic. But before the final, Alliance and Roccat will put pride on the line as they fight to finish in the top 3.
Well, first of all, let's talk about yesterday's action. We had some fantastic games as both semi-finals and the 5th place match went the distance to 3 games in every series. The first matchup featured Fnatic taking on Alliance, and that series was decided by objectives.
Yeah, when Alliance got outmaneuvered by Fnatic in the last match, it fell to Froggen. He couldn't quite carry on Frizz, though.
Next up, of course, was SK Gaming against Roccat, and Roccat came out with a very convincing Game 1 and looked to sweep the series, but SK came back strong and managed to win 2 in a row.
Yeah, Roccat absolutely exploded against SK with a clear plan to shut down Svenskeren and make Jesus a non-factor. But when SK adapted their picks and bans and identified Rockat's strategies, they were simply unable to use their superior team tactics, and they completely shut down the Polish powerhouse.
And we closed out yesterday's games with Gambit facing the Copenhagen Wolves in a battle for 5th. There was a lot on the line for both teams, but after 3 very long games, Gambit came out on top.
Yeah, it was a back-and-forth battle that saw the Wolves dominating the first game, but falling behind in the next 2. We even saw Genja pick up the first pentakill of the 2014 LCS in an epic ending to Game 2. The Copenhagen Wolves, well, this loss means that they will be fighting to hold on to their LCS spot in the summer promotion tournament, which is happening next week.
Now let's take a look at some of your favorite hashtag LCS big plays from those matches. First up is the man mode dive by Cyanide from Game 1 of Fnatic vs Alliance.
Yeah, this came in from Kaz PL. He says that Kazik God jumps into a 5-man brush. It's like a casual Friday. This was your 3rd most talked about play.
Alliance are trying to pull a Fnatic bush, and it's been spotted!
Cyanide leaps straight in towards it. Froggen tries to get in amongst them with that Defile. He goes down. Everybody now needs to evacuate the area. There's gonna Wish. There's the Requiem following it through. There's no damage coming out, though. They haven't even got enough damage to deal with Cyanide, who's just bouncing on towards them. Monsoon blows tab straight into Fnatic, into their jaws, and they pounce on through.
Cyanide tanking everyone up for days after doing that. Next, we have one of the many hooks landed by Vander in Roccat versus SK's Game 1. This comes from Bird, and he said, when the time comes for LCS big plays, just roll a clip of all the hooks that Vander made in this game. That should do it. This is your 2nd most talked about play. Candy Panda was spotted. Svenskeren did go low there. Actually, he's going to get hooked into it. There's the slow as well. He goes down. The box can come into the equation, and that super mega death rocket as the hook lands onto Enraged. Gonna knock him back here as he stands on the chompers. Gonna get slowed as well as the cocoon comes down. He's using intervention on himself. It's not gonna be enough to save his life as Svenskeren comes in the side. The flame comes down, but Svenskeren is gonna pay the price here, surely. Yes, he is. It's Sullivan that gets the kill.
It just shows why SK continued to ban out Thresh against Vander. You cannot let it through. And finally, your most talked about moment was, of course, Genja's game-winning pentakill. And this came from Game 2 of Gambit versus the Copenhagen Wolves. It came in from @GustavoPoo, and he said, 1 man, 1 eyebrow, 5 kills. This was your #1 LCS big play. Baron down to half health. There's the mines being thrown out. Bouncing bombs again. Amazing jump straight into the team. He's taken down so quick though. It's going to be Genja that does the damage. Eddie is taken out of this one. The stun comes out, but look at it, it's a double kill for Genja. Unlimited gets pounced on. Diamond gets himself a kill in towards. It's a triple kill. It's going to go towards it. Forgiven goes down into Quadra. Can they get the Penta on Youngblood? One more shot. It's a pentakill for Genja. And would you believe Gambit Gaming?
First pentakill of the LCS, and just goes to show what happens when Genja buys a last whisper.
Absolutely.
Finally. And remember, guys, you can send us your favorite plays from the matches by tweeting them to @LOLesports with the hashtag LCSBigPlays. So let's move on and take a quick look at our games today in the playoff bracket. Our first matchup has Alliance and Roccat as the two defeated teams from yesterday's semi-finals, and they will face each other in the third place match.
Yeah, and as the two winning teams from those semi-finals, SK Gaming and Fnatic move into the championship game to compete in a best-of-5 for first place and to represent Europe at the All-Star Invitational in Paris.
And remember, you can keep track of your favorite players and teams through stats, VODs of past games, and much more at LOLesports.com. That's also where you'll find our schedule of upcoming matches.
Yeah, while you're there, tell us who you think will win in each series today. Just submit your picks and we'll check in before the first game in each matchup to see how you voted. And while you're there, also subject your voting. You've already chosen the players who you were thinking going to be making to the All-Stars. We also want to know the two All-Star Challenge teams, of course, the two players to go alongside them. This week, you can submit your votes to pick those two former pros to join those single teams for the Hexaco game that will be happening during All-Stars.
Just log on to vote.lolesports.com and pick 2 of the 5 candidates, including our own North American shoutcaster, Jack. Should definitely vote for him. And former European World Champion, Shushe. The two who get the most votes will join those All-Star Challenge teams in a 6v6 Hexakill match on the Rift.
Yeah, the All-Star event is going to be exciting, that's for sure. But don't forget that our summer promotion tournament begins next Thursday. We will have some great teams competing for a spot in the summer split here in Cologne, of course. And if you'd like to join us here in Cologne, you can get over and buy your tickets. They are available right now, so get them while you still can.
And of course, we'd like to hear from you guys, so get on Twitter and tell us which European LCS player had the biggest influence on your own play style this split, and why.
There's a lot of players that have played some impressive, especially the supports and the junglers. They have been very impressive. I think you got to look at, say, Vander, maybe with those hooks as well. Kind of makes me want to play Thresh, but I can't do it as well. That's for sure. We want to hear your answers, though, so send them over to @LOLesports and use the hashtag LCS so we can highlight our favorite responses later in the show.
All right, then, let's send things over to Shox and Deficio, who are standing by with the Copenhagen Wolves' Youngbuck for a breakdown of today's games.
Thank you very much, Joe. Indeed, welcome, Youngbuck. You'll be joining us here all day to analyze the games. I quickly want to touch on yesterday, of course, a heartbreaking series for you guys. You guys are going into summer promotion, but I don't think I'm lying if I'm saying that you guys are a really strong team. You have a really strong chance of keeping it in. And what were kind of the main things you took of that series yesterday that you say this is a strength that we will be able to use next week in that promotion tournament?
I think overall we had good champion selects and good game plans that we followed a lot. We just faltered when the pressure was very high and we had to be more decisive, and Gambit just beat us by pure experience.
I 100% agree. I mean, the pick and ban phase for Copenhagen Wolves is actually one of the strongest we got here in Europe. They always get counter picks for everything, deep champion pools for all the members. But then when you come into the game, even if they get a good start early game, they often tend to get in this situation where closing out the game is an issue, and they give a lot of time to the other team to farm up, and then they give them the chance to make a comeback.
But you guys have a week to practice for that. I'm sure we'll see a great team next week. For now, though, let's focus on the games that we have going on here today. First off, the best of 3 for third place between Roccat and Alliance. What do we make of this matchup? Is there one team that clearly has the edge? Of course, yesterday, Roccat, a very strong start versus SK Gaming, but then kind of dropping the ball, I think, with very good targeted bans by SK.
Well, I think it showed Roccat had a tactical plan with these 5 champions. They used them both games against Gambit and also first game against SK, and it worked really well. But as soon as 2 of them, the Jax and the Thresh, was banned away, everything kind of fell apart for them. So we need to see today if they have adapted, if they have learned new champions, or not learned, but have some new champs ready, new comps ready, because we can expect Alliance at least to make sure Thresh and Jax are not going over to Roccat.
Yeah, it actually was in the pre-show, I think, that they said, well, we focused so hard on that game versus Gambit, which is also the same for you guys. You focused so hard on the game for staying in, and you only have one strategy. Do you think in the Roccat versus Alliance game that Roccat will be able to beat them if they come up with new strategies, or is Alliance a stronger team here?
I think they are both incredibly skilled and pretty even, and Champion Select is going to be very determining for the outcome of the game. I'm especially looking forward to see them banning Thresh away from Vander because he's just too strong on that champion.
Absolutely, also with one of our hashtag LCS big plays, and rightfully so. After that, we'll be going into the final here as Fnatic take on SK Gaming in El Clasico, another classic matchup to decide who will be the #1 at the end of this split. And while both teams just looking incredibly strong, let's start with SK. Throughout the regular season, very consistent performance, and I immediately think of Svenskeren, for example.
Well, yes, Svenskeren is a big deal of the early game for SK, which sometimes can actually backfire. We saw game 1 versus Rocket, where they went into his red buff, killed him at level 1, and then continued to just keep him down. And SK Gaming's early game actually just fell apart. They had absolutely nothing to bring. So Fnatic here, if they can manage to shut down Svenskeren early, they might have a very good chance of simply just winning out the early game, and from there on just try and close out the game as fast as possible.
Youngmak, what do you think will be the key for either of these teams to bring down the win?
I think Fnatic has a slight edge when it comes to individual skill, but SK has N-rated, who is just the mastermind of the game, and he has the best strategies always planned right ahead, and that usually wins games for them.
So you're calling it for SK Gaming?
I'm actually calling it for Fnatic.
Oh. What about you, Defisho?
Well, Fnatic are going to bring out something special. I just know it because all these players play so many different champions. If they pull something out, like we saw yesterday with the Soraka top lane, and if they win 1 or 2 games from it, especially the first game and the second game possibly, I feel like SK is going to have a hard time coming back from it because, of course, you need to win 3 in a row. It's very, very hard. And Fnatic is so experienced, they know how to win a series like this. They've been here before. So I feel like if they pull out something special in the start and get the first few games, they will take the whole thing.
All right, you guys are saying Fnatic. What about for Rocket versus Alliance real quick? Rocket or Alliance? Defisho?
I'll give it to Alliance, honestly. I think if they ban away some key champions from Rocket, I think Alliance is going to be stronger.
Youngmak?
I agree with Defisho. I think it's going to be a 2-1 victory for Alliance.
All right, well, we'll see how that turns out. Thank you very much for joining me. And of course, we'll be seeing a lot of you. Azure will be with us all day. As far as it's time for us to take a short break, but when we come back, it's time for the 3rd place match between Alliance and Rocket. We'll be right back.